Despite heavy rain, threats from Beijing, and weeks of clashes with the police, hundreds of thousands of protesters marched through the streets of Hong Kong on Sunday for the 11th weekend in a row.
Here's a summary of the article.
Despite heavy rain, threats from Beijing, and weeks of clashes with the police, hundreds of thousands of protesters marched through the streets of Hong Kong on Sunday for the 11th weekend in a row. Sunday's protests came amid escalating tensions in Hong Kong. There were questions about what turnout might look like after an especially tense week for protesters, but the New York Times estimates that Sunday's protest could be the biggest demonstration in weeks. Protesters carried out sit-ins at Hong Kong's airport last week, partially in response to video footage of Hong Kong police brutalizing a protester during an arrest. She also said the response to the airport controversy and Beijing's increased shows of military force at the Hong Kong border have pushed many protesters to demand more sweeping reforms. After the airport incident, more protesters are eager to shout out, "Revive Hong Kong, revolution of the time," which most protesters didn't agree with before. For now, that force, and the 6,000 People's Liberation Army troops routinely stationed in Hong Kong, have not moved against protesters, but in recent weeks, Hong Kong police have been increasingly inclined to use force against demonstrators, and have made over 700 arrests. Debate on the bill was postponed indefinitely due to the protests, but the demonstrations have continued as a platform for citizens to push back against what they call police brutality. At the protests, Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam's dismissal of protesters as rioters and stubborn children, and Beijing's growing influence in the city's politics. While the protests have expanded in scope, demonstrators have not lost sight of the fact the extradition law that set off the protests has only been shelved rather than completely removed from consideration.
This post received a score of 57,349, with an upvote ratio of 95%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Every time someone says more than a million, another big source comes to downscale it. Let's not forget that 1 in 3 people in Hong Kong is protesting right now.
Yes, I am one of them.
Best wishes from Canada. The world is watching.
Seconded, from Canada. Ashamed of the pro-Beijing, anti-democracy protesters who showed up in counter-rallies in Toronto and Vancouver, but glad that they capitulated. Keep fighting the good fight. Yeah, this was ridiculous. I don't get how they can counter-rally HK and live in the West. Boggles my mind.
Furthermore, how can you even live in the West, a generally democratic culture, and protest against democracy? That's nutty.
The fact that this many people, who are afraid, stressed, indignant, and fucking wet, could do this without someone getting hurt is pretty fucking impressive, and it says something about the goodness of the people of Hong Kong. Fuck, I can't seem to drive to the grocery store or call a utility company without wanting to beat someone up along the way. Serenity now. Additionally, I'm sure I probably do need therapy. I think we could all benefit from a bit of quality mental TLC.
I got banned from Sino for talking bad about the mainland support gatherings in Canada, didn't realize it was a propaganda sub at first. If I could still post there I would repost this, not that it would last long.
Jesus Christ, I looked into Sino after reading your comment. It's so bad.
That post about bringing healing hands to Africa is giving me serious bringing democracy to Iraq vibes. Zimbabwe is a great example to start from. China has invested quite a lot in one of the most failed of states. With only the purest, most charitable of intentions that will never in any way endanger the rights of the indigenous people, I'm sure.
You can just say for organs. Hospital prisons are already the accepted commonplace in too many parts of Africa, unfortunately. And the Chinese government has always had an interesting perspective on prisoners and their rights vis-a-vis, hopefully, non-vital organs.
Just FYI, it's vis-a-vis, not vis-a-vis. It's a French phrase that, literally translated, means face-to-face.
That is what fighting for freedom really looks like.
HKers here. Actually, many protectors in HK not really agree in peaceful protest will actually work. It's been 11 weeks already, but the government still hasn't moved by protesters. But personally I hope no one is hurt in the protest, but you cannot reason to a tiger when your head is in his mouth.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.